Hey everyone, JC at Starcraft here, bringing you Game 2 of the best of 3 quarterfinals between WhiteRa and Naama for the Go for SC2 August final. Wow, that was a mouthful for me. And action getting started here on Delta Quadrant with WhiteRa spawning as the red Protoss in the bottom right-hand corner. Naama going to be spawning as the blue Terran in the bottom left-hand corner. And Naama up 1-0 in this best of 3 series. The Go for SC2 August finals are the top 8 players who scored the most number of points during the weekly Go for SC2 Cups throughout the month of August. They're held every Wednesday and Sunday, open to any player, I think, on the European tournament, so open sign up. Those tournaments were very, very large. Some of the bigger weekly cups, a few of the Sunday tournaments reached as many as 1,024 signups. So that's a lot of StarCraft 2 going on. And I think the cash prize for each weekly cup is something like 100 or 200 euro for first place. So you can definitely win a bunch of those and come forward and, you know, have a great time. But also you will win a whole bunch of money for this. Right now there are 8 players that were invited into a mostly, I think, single elimination challenge, but best of 3 to start and then best of 5 for the semis and the finals, if I'm not mistaken. Right now it looks like WhiteRa with first scout yet again coming in, and a really lucky scout for him. Able to come in and try to do some harass on Naama the best he can, and Naama forced to pull off an SCV to try to take care of the probe. The probe not even losing too much in shields, and this is going to be a big problem for Naama, as this lone SCV is not going to be able to. I think WhiteRa could have just pushed in right there and possibly killed him, but wants to keep his shields up. Doesn't want to lose 1 ounce of hit point for this probe. And Naama just going to be rotating his SCVs through, keeping a good eye on everything going on. Looking back at the base of WhiteRa, going to be going with a pretty standard opening as well. Gateway and just chrono boosting away his probe. So Naama has no idea where his opponent is. Probably going to be checking for the 2 closest spots, as it was a very, very fast scout. So now that he knows it isn't here, just going to go down to the bottom right-hand corner as well. And the probe of WhiteRa still in Naama's base, going to be driven out there by the first Marine. Naama in the previous game went with the 1-1-1 and eventually just supplemented it with some M&M action, so going through, but really doing a good job with his Banshee harass. Something that I enjoy watching about Naama is this kind of fearlessness with the Banshees and just not giving up. He will constantly pressure you with them until you're sick and tired of those Banshees, however which way. And so it looks like pretty standard opening, and WhiteRa going to be throwing down a pylon here as well, so that he can summon units down onto the bottom of this cliff if he needs to. Also gain sight in case any sort of early intrusion comes in. And this bunker doing a good job holding things off. Very difficult for Protoss to run through that bunker, as you can already see, the Zealot's down to, I think, 37, but just running away. All the Zealot has done is run to the corner. That's pretty much it. And this Marine's going to try to take him out if he can, down to 25 hit points, and more Zealots just running in. What, does he have 2 gate? No, he just has 1 gate, just chrono boosting them out, so forcing Naama just to micro now. But both the Zealots are not really doing that much damage. This Zealot here just going to hide away while his shields recharge, and so this bunker positioning, a very favorable one for Terran players against Protoss opponents, as even if they try to speed past it with these Zealots, and now the Zealots are just huddling here in the corner. WhiteRa could be throwing down a proxy pylon right now, and I think Naama is not very happy with what's going on. Really needs to try to keep his attention on 2 sides. Is that another? No, a Stalker just runs right in as well, so maybe I take it back, but the Stalker has lost most of its hit points, and very interesting play from WhiteRa at this point. Naama being forced to take his SCVs off the line and attack with them, but unfortunately this is not a great attack from WhiteRa, and just goes to show, you know, that bunker placement able to take off significant amount of damage before anything can run in, unlike the Zerg, who can just stream past in no problem. So WhiteRa really testing that bunker placement, and has shown that it probably is pretty darn good. So 2 gate robo going down right now for WhiteRa, and looks like 3 gate robo eventually. Meanwhile, the scouting SCV is going to get fried. Yet another scouting SCV adding to the pile. If there was a tombstone for every scouting SCV, or every scouting overlord, or sacrificial overlord, it'd be huge. It'd be enormous. If only If only Blizzard could track that kind of information, that would be amazing. But I don't think that they can, unless they're somehow storing every replay on their server as well, which would be pretty darn cool for Blizzard to do, but I just don't think they have the capacity to do that. So the Hellion going to run in, try to do some harass, but not going to be able to do too much, forcing these Stalkers actually temporarily to just run back and kind of take care of it, and more of a scouting sacrificial Hellion as well. WhiteRa testing the grounds, but not going to be do too much, as it looks like my production tab was off. I'm sorry about that. The Siege tank is almost about to be researched, and more tanks coming out. So Banshee coming out as well for Naama, and a second Rax. So going for pretty much the same build as before, getting the reactor on so that he can pump out as many Marines as possible and keep his unit count up. And now going to be working on taking his expansion, although there are a bunch of Stalkers right outside of his base, and WhiteRa going to be taking the expansion at the upper right hand position. Really wants to gain map control here and contain his opponent, lock down the Terran unit, force going to try to force Naama to turtle at this point. And unfortunately that supply depot is going to be picked off in the front. One of the reasons why most players don't like to build towards the ramp is that they're really easy picking, and now Naama actually supply blocked temporarily as he's trying to get that second command center and expansion going. So Naama now going to be, looks like going to be scouting yet again, and here comes that observer gaining sight. That scout not going to be going anywhere. Poor SCVs sent to their doom, but they don't know any better. They just do exactly as they're told. Worker units all around. And is there a proxy pylon being set up anywhere? No, there isn't. WhiteRa right now doesn't really want to push in, but really just wants to try to contain as much as possible and not allow Naama to go around and explore. Looking quickly through the tab, Naama does have his Raven out, and now sees how small the Stalker army is. Should be able to engage it without a problem, but I think giving WhiteRa a lot of respect at this point. Doesn't really want to push forward on it. Really only 6 Stalkers here, so shouldn't be too much of a problem for him. Looking at the army tab right now, Naama is up 66 to 55, and although in the income tab, WhiteRa has started to pull ahead. Does he have blink? Yes, he does have blink being researched, so with the observer, he would be able to blink across that cliff. The observer still, but now Naama going to be hunting down that observer as best as possible, throwing down the auto turret, and the auto turret trying to do some damage. The Banshee does go down, unfortunately, and the auto turret just firing away. Tank fire coming down as well for the Stalkers, and the Stalkers now trying to reinforce, trying their best to hold in, taking out this auto turret pretty quickly. And I think they really want to try to blink across and do damage here onto the expansion right now. So WhiteRa is doing a good job containing his opponent, kind of taking a very risky, oh, there's a probe out there who's not doing anything, kind of taking a very risky expansion right now. But looks like now he's going to be taking his natural to throw off some suspicion there. Scan going down for Naama. Naama hasn't been able to scout anything but the base. And at this point, I think if he saw that his opponent was expanding so late, it might be suspicious that there is something else on the map. But looking at the arm tab, 86 over 64 right now. WhiteRa might be caught off guard with the timing attack from Naama. Naama does have a sufficient amount of forces and tanks blocking himself temporarily and just trying to siege down as soon as possible. He doesn't even really need to siege these tanks at the moment. He could probably just run in and fire with them. They do still do a ton of damage, 25, and the cannons fire a lot faster than siege mode. Especially if these are blink stalkers, so he can keep stalking them down, as sieging down will allow the blink stalkers just to run away. And it looks like charge being researched for the Zealots, a very good thing in this situation. Siege is going down. There are stalkers on both sides, unfortunately, and now we're going to keep one of the tanks open, just driving away the stalkers, and the blink stalkers just going to be pushing them away, trying to siege down in the front, and right now just going to be wiping out a whole bunch of anything that pops up in the front. Slowly going with that slow siege push, moving 2 siege tanks at a time. Going to be taking out one of the gateways and going to be taking out a few more. Point defense drone going down, absorbing some of the damage from the stalkers. And this point defense drone is actually going to be really helpful in holding off this back stalker attack. And while just a really great push from Naama, catching WhiteRa just a little bit off guard in army count as well. Now supply block for WhiteRa, as most of his building units have gone down. Point defense drone key to holding off the back blink stalkers from blinking in, doing any sort of damage to them. And now just blasting away. Unfortunately for WhiteRa, I don't think he will be able to recover from this. And looks like, because he just lost all his warp gates, and so he can't really reinforce with units. And he can't anyways because he's out of pylon. So it looks like we're going to see a GG from WhiteRa pretty darn soon. And there we go, GG from WhiteRa. So great job from Naama, and great play from the young 17-year-old from Finland. He moves on to the semifinals. Yeah, only 4 left, so semifinals. I forget who's in his bracket, but should be a very interesting game. This has been JCS Starcraft, and I will be broadcasting the rest of the games. I'm signing off.